Welcome back to the channel. Who are the Mortis gods? Star Wars introduces the three Mortis gods. The Clone Wars refers to enormously strong creatures called force-wielders. The father, daughter, and son served to lead the force around the cosmos. These entities had a tangible presence on Mortis, but they could also shapeshift at will. One of them stated that their mission was to protect the power, referring to the force itself. The Mortis world served as a conduit through which all of the force in Star Wars flowed, and the Mortis gods were in charge of controlling that flow while ensuring the dualism between the dark and light sides persisted. The Mortis gods were famous across the galaxy. Ezra Bridger discovered a mural of the Mortis gods on the Jedi Temple of Lothal that led to the entrance to the world between worlds in Star Wars Rebels. Inscriptions of the Mortis gods may also be found in some of the sacred Jedi manuscripts studied by Rey in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Although the Jedi Order was definitely aware of the Mortis gods, faith in their existence seemed to have eroded. Even the Father stated that few people are aware of the Mortis gods' existence. Their unique capacity to control the Force, he claims, caused them to leave the temporal realm. The Father represents the Force's balance. Arcturus Mortis. Star Wars. The Clone Wars. And the Clone Wars, the Father is presented as an elderly man who keeps the Force balanced by keeping his offspring in check. Given the old images of him on Lothal and Prydia, he's most certainly been doing this for thousands of years. He felt that the Mortis realm was the only location where he could totally control his progeny and keep them from breaking the cosmos apart. However, the Mortis arc also showed that the Father was dying and that he was losing control of his offspring. The Father was the most powerful Mortis deity, and the offspring inherited his strength and immortality. Mortis served as a safe haven as well as a jail for the three force-wielders. While the Father maintained the balance, the daughter and son were too strongly linked with either side of the Force to be trusted on their own. In other words, despite their desire to depart Mortis and exercise complete control over the cosmos, the Father kept them both bound out of love. The dark and light must wax and fade evenly in his view. When one side gained too much power, the balance of life was thrown off. The Force's light side is represented by the daughter. In the Clone Wars, the son accidentally murders the daughter as she dies in front of the dagger of Mortis to save the father. The daughter of the father symbolized the bright side of the Force, which the Jedi favored. She has the capacity to turn into a massive griffin. She was the day, and she adored bringing Mortis to life by forcing plants to bloom in the light. Unlike her brother, who craved more and more power, the daughter accepted her duty as the light side amid the gloom. She trusted her father's choice to imprison her and her brother, and she only used her authority when her brother opposed her. In her own words, she is always striving to do what is unselfish. Interestingly, Baylan discovers a beheaded daughter's statue in the world of dreams and madness. Her absence, as the light side of the Force, represents the status of the light side during Ahsoka's period in the Star Wars universe. The daughter sacrifices herself to save the father in the Clone Wars, then transfers her remaining life into Ahsoka Tano. Her death symbolizes Order 66 and the demise of the Jedi Order in many ways. The Jedi were slaughtered in the same way she was. Meanwhile, the son was allowed to consolidate power over Mortis on his own, similar to how Palpatine was able to govern the galaxy for a while. The dark side of the Force is represented by the son. The son represents the evil side of the Force and is always trying to overthrow the father and reclaim his place as the most powerful Mortis deity. There was a part of him that adored his sister, but it was possible that it was just because she gave his power significance. The son could shapeshift into a variety of creatures, his favorite being a huge bat. He did, however, disguise himself as Shmi Skywalker, Anakin's mother, in order to entice him to the dark side. In order to tease Ahsoka and infect her with the dark side, the son also changed into a little goblin. The daughter was unselfish, while the son was selfish. He reveled in decay, darkness, and the power that hatred and malice provided him, much as the Sith did. Mortis descended into darkness and grief after the death of her daughter. Because of the son's strength, the plants she had cultivated wilted. In a desperate attempt to leave Mortis, the son revealed Anakin's future as Darth Vader to him. However, the father eventually erased these memories. Nonetheless, the son's victory against the daughter signaled the rise of the Empire and the evil side. Everything Star Wars has revealed about Mortis, the Mortis gods' homeworld, a massive structure in Mortis and Star Wars, very little is known about the location of Mortis realm in the cosmos. An octahedral monument hovering near the Chrolithium system transported Anakin Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka there. While there, Obi-Wan stated that his scanners couldn't pinpoint their whereabouts in the known galaxy. Ahsoka appeared to believe the planet was a little bigger than an asteroid. Nonetheless, Baylan Skoll may have demonstrated that Mortis genuinely lived on Prydia. If this is the fact, Baylan is on the verge of discovering the location of the Force's conduit. Because Mortis increases Force sensitivity, Baylan may take his position as a Force wielder or even manipulate the flow of the Force itself. Mortis has a number of significant places. The Well of the Dark Side was a flaming abyss deep beneath the planet's surface through which all the dark side of the galaxy flowed. The Altar of Mortis, on the other hand, contained the Dagger of Mortis, a weapon more lethal than any lightsaber due to its capacity to murder Mortis gods. The majority of the action in the Mortis arc, however, takes place at the Mortis Monastery, which might be the same edifice Baylan sees in the distance in the realm of dream and madness. How the Mortis gods connect to the Chosen One and the Force balance in the Clone Wars, Anakin saves Ahsoka from Mortis. The father provoked the entire Mortis storyline in the Clone Wars to establish whether Anakin was actually the Chosen One. Given his declining health, the father felt Anakin might serve as his successor to Mortis, but Anakin declined. Even with their supernatural might, the Mortis gods revered the prophecy of the Chosen One. The father claims that Anakin was predicted to remain on Mortis and maintain the balance. Nonetheless, Anakin's reluctance resulted in Mortis destruction and the death of the Mortis gods. Because the Mortis arc was so significant, it was difficult to put it in the Star Wars timeline. Though Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka were transported there during the Clone Wars, their days with the Mortis gods did not take place in actual time. Captain Rex claims that they only lost communication with them for a few seconds after returning to the temporal galaxy. In other words, the Mortis world may not be time-bound, which would explain how the father has been able to maintain equilibrium amongst his offspring for thousands of years. Mortis appears in which Star Wars episodes? Mortis's son is hurling red force lightning. The Mortis arc is featured in episodes 15, 16, and 17 of Star Wars, The Clone Wars Season 3. In Overlords, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan arrive in the alien world of Mortis for the first time. Anakin also demonstrated his ability to tame both the son and the daughter at the same time, cementing his position as the Chosen One who can control the Force. In Altar of Mortis, however, the daughter was slain while attempting to save the father from the son, negating Anakin's need to stay and maintain the balance. While Mortis does not appear, the Mortis gods are shown in Star Wars Rebels Season 4, Episodes 12 and 13. In Wolves and Adore, Ezra Bridger and Sabine Wren uncover a secret mural depicting the father, son, and daughter deep under Lothal's Jedi Temple. Ezra was able to activate a portal connecting to the world between worlds by using the Force, which may be integrally tied to the power of the Mortis gods. In A World Between Worlds, Ezra used time travel to save Ahsoka, but the mural and the temple eventually collapsed in on themselves. The Mortis gods and Abeloth and Star Wars Legends. Between the premiere of the Clone Wars and Disney's eventual acquisition, Aaron Alston expanded on the mystery of the Mortis gods and his fate of the Jedi trilogy. Alston, who is now a member of Star Wars Legends, established an ancient entity known as Abeloth, who was the main nemesis of his writings. Originally a mortal lady who happened upon the three Mortis gods, she finally accepted her place as their family's absent mother. Unlike the father, who could only confine his offspring, Abeloth was able to coerce them. However, being immortal, Abeloth grew old and yearned to be eternal. Abeloth drank from the font of power and swam in the pool of knowledge, despite the fact that they are now legends. While these crimes gained her immortality, they also transformed her into a terrifyingly strong evil side demon. Fearing her might, the rest of the Mortis gods imprisoned her. Their deaths in the Clone Wars, however, released Abeloth to wreak devastation on the galaxy. Furthermore, it's likely that Lucasfilm's Dave Filoni intends to make Abeloth canon. She might be the thing that draws Baylan to Mortis. The Mortis gods in Ahsoka and Baylan's Star Wars future setup in Ahsoka Episode 8, Baylan Skoll stands among Mortis deity sculptures. If Abeloth is not calling to Baylan, the Mortis gods may not be as extinct as the Clone Wars led the audience to assume. Because the Mortis gods are so closely linked to the Force, it's feasible that they'll live on even after their corporeal bodies have died. The father even reminds Anakin that their physique is just a reflection of the energy around them. If the Mortis gods still exist within the Force, they may be summoning Baylan to Mortis to assume their position as the caretakers of the power. Whether it's the Mortis gods or Abeloth who summon Baylan, Dave Filoni must make a difficult choice in ending Baylan's Mortis story arc. With the untimely death of Ray Stevenson, Baylan's persona is still trapped atop the father's monument. His objective of reaching Mortis is in sight, but he can't get there, regardless of how he takes the loss. Filoni has used the Mortis gods to connect practically every Star Wars project he's worked on, from the Clone Wars to Rebels to Ahsoka.